Okay.
Wait, Jeff?
Do I get a turn?
Oh, I wonder why we're so far ahead
Yeah.
of the schedule.
Are you ready for? No, it's okay. You ready? Basically, I'll compare and contrast a couple points. One, number one priority is continue the good work we've done. We've done an incredible job since the recall to stabilize the city council, stabilize the business community, and make a positive impact so that when people look at Cornelius, they see a positive opportunity, right? I think the culmination of a lot of that was the All-America Cities recognition, right? That really said we were doing the right things. You don't do it to win the award, you do the right things, and the award is a recognition of the good work you're doing, the reformation of the police, those kind of things. So continue that good work, and there's plenty of good work to still be done. I think also up on that list is we have to talk about fire. When Chris talked about public safety, fire is in a tough spot, right? We have 2 professional firefighters. We got to 2 basically by the bond measure that we've already passed and we're sustaining, but those are at 5-year bites. So we need to continue to talk about fire and how we're going to take that to the next level, because those 2 professionals and a few volunteer interns are getting tapped out by hundreds and hundreds of calls. And I think we're going to need to make some increases there. Contrasting, we're not responsible for the schools, but we are an advocate for the schools, and that's why I've been supporting the measure to replace Cornelius Elementary. Right, that school is one of the oldest of the 3 in our community. We need to get that replaced. I've been signing the cards so we can do that and participating in that. And as far as the Fred Meyer problem, part of that is it's a private business front, and businesses go where the leases are less expensive. And if you're charging a tremendously high market value on your lease, people will move away if they're not getting their return on their investment. So that's why 20th Avenue is now full, and Fred Meyer's continues to remain mostly vacant except for Fred Meyer's. Thank you.
Now we can clap after. Now we can clap.
Okay, now we're up to the first of our audience questions. Does anybody in the audience have a question for our panel?
Did I need to write it down? I didn't write it down ahead of time. Is
No,
that
you
okay?
don't have to.
Oh, okay.
We're doing it a little different because it's a small group, so if
Okay.
you have a question, you're
Sure.
welcome to ask.
Yeah, so I stepped in a little bit late, and I believe you were talking a little bit about your history, but could you tell me how your current, what positions you might hold in current little small government, and also your employment, how your strengths from that, how that will play into your role as mayor. So for both of you.
Question 1. Do you want to pick another one? Because we absolutely did that.
Did you?
Question.
Ah,
We did
rats.
that
Okay,
question, so it's
I
on the video.
missed it.
I'd
Okay.
really hate you to miss that opportunity and then the other people see a new question. But
Okay.
if you got another one, or if you want to loop back around. and
Sure,
somebody
sure.
else has got a question. Hey, Chris, are you okay with that? I think we hit that in the question.
Yeah, I suspected, sorry.
Yeah, that was the opening question. What else we got? We're not short for time. We can
No,
stretch this out a little.
I can answer the question.
Yeah, if you want, go ahead. Go ahead, I'll defer to you. You can take the first stab.
Did you say you're going to ask yourself a question?
No, I can answer the question.
Okay. I said I'm going to ask. I'll ask myself a question. Okay, go for it.
Yeah, so initially I graduated college in Hawaii and then I moved to Oregon. My first job was for the state of Oregon. I worked in St. Helens, and I worked in the self-sufficiency department where we helped children and families kind of meet the needs, really their needs that they needed, whether that is cash assistance or the SNAP program, or formerly known as the food stamp program. I case managed there. After that, I decided I needed something more challenging, so I became a child abuse investigator here in our Hillsboro location, where I investigated allegations of abuse and neglect, and we were able to safety plan with families and make sure our kids were safe and healthy. After that, I decided to take a different approach and work inside the school district. So I worked for the Hillsboro School District as the McKinney Mental Liaison, and in that position what I did was I navigated services for our families that were experiencing houselessness and homelessness, made sure they were treated the same way any child should be treated. And then I was given an opportunity at our Harkins House shelter location here in downtown Hillsborough, where we did shelter evaluation services for youth that committed Measure 11 crimes, and we were able to connect them with services. We were able to give them skills to be successful and reduce recidivism in our community, make sure that they were connected to things they needed to be connected to. And what I do now, I actually work in the assessment unit in the juvenile department, where we get referrals of police referrals. And what I do specifically is I categorize youth by risk levels, so low, medium, or high risk, because I'm sure nobody here wants a kid with a gun running around in the community and not knowing where they're at. And so that's what I do.
Thanks, Chris. I think, you know, my professional life, it helps contribute to my civic life. Worked at Intel since, originally started there in '94 in direct to production, transferred over to industrial engineering, and basically that was project management. So I've been doing project management since '95. I did that for years and years at Intel, left there in 2015. I happened to join the city on city council in 2003, and that project management experience really helps you understand scope, schedule, and budget. Who's responsible for what? How do you get things done? What's it going to cost to get that done? Plan that out. Really trying to, and establishing those visions, right? That's the difference between doing it in the professional world and doing it here in the city. We can establish a vision, right? And then we go for it. And I think the best and greatest example, obviously, is the library. We set that out a long time ago, and I actively worked with a lot of our citizenry on how do we get there, right? How do we get there? What are we going to do to make that plan come to fruition? We went out for a vote, missed it by like 76 votes, but we still missed it. And instead of giving up or going back out for another vote, I said, no, we're gonna grassroots this. And I worked with a lot of people to grassroots it. We also got support. I reached out to our senators, our congressmen, both state and federal level, and said, nothing says I support you like money. And asked them for help to support, right? Give us a letter of recommendations. And we won all kinds of incredible things for the library through state and federal supports. That one of them was a federal grant out of 11 granted in the U.S. We got one of them here for Cornelius' library for our Latino youth outreach programming. So it really speaks to what we've accomplished when you set a vision and then you start working through those milestones. Thank you.
Is there another audience question?
I'll ask another question. You talked about your priorities, what your priorities would be, but I'm curious what you feel is currently the biggest struggle in Cornelius.
Okay. The biggest struggle, figuring out if you're paying your electric bill, your water bill, medicine, or food. We have a tremendous number of people, and I've done the comparative analysis between us and Hillsborough, and we have a lot more people per capita every month that are getting pinned down, and we see it in our utility rates. We pushed out going back into actually doing disconnects even, and we changed our policies, right, through the city council. We said we're not going to charge late fees because that's just adding insult to injury. These folks are struggling to pull the two ends together every month. And after 3 months of doing that and not paying their water bill, they're going to look at disconnect. So that's what we did. We reached out. We used some of the money from the feds to help catch those people up. A number of our citizens took care of it. And I think that's the number one thing. That's the ground zero kind of thing, right? Hunger and people not having a place. Is it everybody? No. But a character of a community is significantly defined by how it treats those most vulnerable. And that's why I've partnered with Centro, that's why I've worked with Virginia Garcia, you know, all of those organizations that have been grassroots developed just like our library. I kind of call those the three crowns in Cornelius: Virginia Garcia, Centro, and the library that were grassroots developed and are giving back to the community in tremendous ways every day. This is a safe place. You know, Chris talked about dangerous things. Kids, if you talk to Maria on our library staff, she came here as a child early on to this library because it was a safe place for her to go after school. And that's why she came here. And her life has grown up here, and now she's one of our librarians. So that's a great example of what we do in the priorities of the community. We do what we can for that. I pull the money down from the state, the Fed, and the county and try to get it applied here. And that's where I talked about that earlier. Thank you.
Yeah, I would think the two major struggles in our city are kind of the two silent killers: inflation and mental health. You know, a lot of our children in our schools are suffering from a lot of mental health. You know, they go home, their parents have the financial pressure of meeting basic needs. They're going home and potentially being you know, witnesses to domestic violence, and that creates a big impact on our youth. Inflation, I mean, our jobs, the jobs that a lot of our blue-collar, hard-working people here in Cornelius have, they don't pay a lot. They don't pay a lot, and people are struggling. And so those are, and that's, a lot of it's due to inflation. You know, I consider myself to have a decent paying job, and even I'm, you know, struggling. I feel it when we go to the market. I feel it when we sparingly go out to eat. And so those are the things that I think our community members are struggling with. And one of the things that Centro Cultural did was we have a food pantry here to kind of help. My daughter, the summers I would drop her off every Wednesday. She would